Get yourself to okjersey.com where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy. Hi guys, welcome to the channel for my instant post-match reaction to the Newcastle 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2 game. And I don't know, some of you might get annoyed with me with what I've written in the title tonight. I said, dreadful Spurs somehow nick a point. That's how it felt to me. I thought we were appalling. But Sir Loinsteak says, solid performance, big improvement. Look, I know that St James's Park isn't an easy place to go, but we just drossed. Like, until we went 1-0 down, we didn't have a shot on target again, did we? That's how I feel about it. Ted Lasso Spurs says, Romero saved Frank today. That's kind of, I think, more realistic. How do I feel about it? Look, anytime you go to St James's Park and get a point, it's a decent point. That is a fact. You cannot escape that. But this is Nuno ball. I'm sorry, guys, but this is just Nuno ball. That's what we are watching here. It's boring. It's dreadful. It makes the players look like they don't have the ability to play 5 and 10-yard passes, and they do. Of course they do. You know, Christian Romero got 2 mad goals, saved us there just by basically standing up front. But to win football matches, you've got to affect the opposition. You've got to have some kind of game that affects the opposition. And bar, I'd say, maybe 2 periods of maybe 10 minutes where we gained a little bit of momentum. Tottenham didn't affect Newcastle at all today. They didn't worry them at all. It was, honestly, it was dross. It was. And we've somehow managed to nick it. And look, we've all seen it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium enough times where we've, you know, deserved to win a game and the opposition managed to nick it. So I'm going to take it. And by the way, Newcastle's second goal, the penalty that was given against Rodrigo Bentancur, was absolutely disgusting. Dan Burn had Rodrigo Bentancur in a headlock, and the referee doesn't give it as a penalty on the pitch, and then VAR calls him to change it round. Absolute bollocks as far as I'm concerned. But there you go. There we go. It's just bad. Prince Angus says the players' passes have been shit all season. That's not all on Frank. He's not setting them up in a system, mate, where they can pass to each other. He's playing in a system where the opposition teams that we play against have always got 3 or 4 men around our players in the counter press. So we lose the ball so unbelievably quickly. That is his fault. I'm sorry. That is Thomas Frank's decision. That is Thomas Frank's fault. Pokey Wrestler says, football is meant to be entertainment. This certainly was not. Exactly. It certainly was not. David Turner says, for the love of God, someone grab Rishi and ask him why he thinks the Brazilian number 9 keeps throwing themselves to the damn floor when anyone in the stand sneezes. Bentancur unlucky with the penalty. Yeah. And Gary Riddell says, had 2 all over it, Barn. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. ABW says, what a waste of 2 hours. Look, we got a point out of it in the end. Hattie says, got away with the draw on TikTok. Prince says, why do people want us to play free-flowing attacking football at Newcastle away on a cold midweek November night? Geez, what did what we needed to do? Mate, it doesn't live in a vacuum, though, does it? It's the latest. Listen, if this was Pochettino's team and he's gone to Newcastle to try and, you know, nick a point, and he's nicked a point, you're like, fair enough, because in every other game, we play front-footed, high-pressing football that's exciting and entertaining for the fans to watch. But this is absolute dross, mate. So it doesn't live in a vacuum. It's not, you know, yes, it's a good point away at Newcastle. They've won, I think, 6 in a row. But Spurs didn't have a shot on target until we went 1-0 down. And that came from a bit of magic from Kudus and Romero. You know, let's not beat around the bush here, lads. This Tottenham team under Thomas Frank is horrible to watch. It is horrible. It is like watching Nuno Espirito Santo and nicking a goal, you know, nicking 2 goals, frankly, but nicking a goal at the end with an overhead kick that comes off his shin. That doesn't change that. It doesn't change that. Prince Angus says Poch had more than 3 months. Yeah, I think maybe Prince Angus doesn't support Spurs because, would you have given Nuno Espirito Santo longer than he had? Because that's what we're watching here. That's what we're watching here. And no, early Poch was not the same. Get out of the comments, mate. Sorry, you're just talking rubbish. Pokey Resta says a point is not good. All it does is buy Frank time. We're still 11th. It's pathetic. Well, my biggest worry is, any of you feel confident that suddenly we're going to play well against Brentford at the weekend? Get on the front foot? No, what'll happen is, because we're in a rut, they'll have shots from outside the box. They'll get deflected in, or they'll get crosses onto people's heads. That guy Eagle will score a goal. It's terrible. Oliver Allen says Bentaker offers nothing, slow and no creativity. I thought Bentaker did all right tonight. I thought he was okay. I think there were players on the pitch who were slow and offered no creativity, but I'm not sure if it was him. Ringo74 says good result, but really poor performance again. Completely papers over the cracks. Completely agree. ABW says logically, why don't they make subs early when we're actually still in the game? Yeah. The Dutch guy says VAR is still way too inconsistent to the point there is no point in having it, as it can be as much as a ref's on-pitch decision. That is such a great point. It is. It's too inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense. And we got absolutely mugged by it today. Mugged by it. Tunde says, Newcastle get everything up there always. The forwards should look at Romero on how to play up front. Kudus was ordinary. Kudus did do that one cross, I guess. Delta Bar says Frank isn't going to be fired mid-season. There just isn't a great manager out there to get. And after firing 2 managers in just a few months, it's going to turn off all decent options. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, but let's face it, he's got to turn something round at home, hasn't he, Thomas Frank? He just has to turn something round at home. If he doesn't turn anything round at home, he will end up getting sacked, because you cannot play like that in front of your own team. Like, it's already got to the stage where when Tottenham play at home, there are swaths of empty seats. And the club will eventually, it doesn't matter how new the ownership is, different faces. It doesn't matter. If there are people not turning up, then they will sack him. Stephen, annoyed at my title, says, dreadful Spurs, we actually defended so well and deserved a draw. Well, I would say Kevin Danso, I thought defended really well. He was the right pick tonight. He's much better in the air than Mickey van der Ven. And it was better. PMC says, we're back at the beginning again. I'm so disappointed that Frank seems so clueless and such a poor tactician. Great communicator, but dreadful otherwise. It is looking that way. I have to say, I think it is looking that way. He says, our squad is not bad. And why didn't Gray play? Yeah, he wanted more physicality in that midfield, didn't he? Hamish says, got to say, Barn, I've been really enjoying your content later. You're calm, cool, collected. I've always respected your views and approach. Keep it up. Also, at least we have 2 world-class centre-backs. So I thought there was definitely going to be a big hairy butt at the end there, Hamish, but thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not sure I'm not that calm watching it at the moment. Do you? Systemic Frog says, slots available. Glasner is angry. Poch free after the World Cup. Do you know what I've been thinking of, lads? It looks quite a lot like Xabi Alonso is about to be sacked from Real Madrid. He did wonders at Leverkusen. That could be interesting. He gets them playing good football. So that could be interesting. Sugarland Spurs says, loved the fight, but Bentaker and Johnson offered little. I thought Johnson looked all right in the first half in terms of opening his legs and getting some down left. But on the ball, he can't hold it up. And Pap Sarr, who I like in terms of an energetic player, he cannot control the ball on the half turn. He gave it away so many times today. And it just looks weird. Oliver Allen says yes to Xabi Alonso. Systemic Frog says Alonso to Liverpool. I think Liverpool might be thought away from Xabi Alonso now because if he's sacked at Real Madrid, it's because he will have failed at Real Madrid. So I don't think Liverpool would then go for a manager who's failed at Real Madrid, whereas I think Spurs would be willing to. Liverpool, I think, would try everything to go and get Jurgen Klopp back. That's what I think would happen. CNK says, can we talk about the spirit of the lads to come back twice and get a draw at one of the hardest grounds in the league? Yeah, fair enough. Good point. They have showed spirit there. It is a good result. I still just think it's worrying. But yes, you're absolutely right, CNK. Great point. Really appreciate it. Philly Hotspur says, Barnaby easily has the best Spurs watch along. Thank you. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate it. Philly Hotspur is a legend. Make sure you follow his YouTube channel as well, Barney. By the way, just said Barney. Devon says, I want to see Tell play more. He came on and made an immediate impact, getting the ball out to Porro after cutting inside. This directly led to the goal. Same thing happened against you. I completely agree. I also thought it was a bit weird he didn't start Odegaard on the left today, because I think all of Tottenham's good work in recent games, certainly before the Arsenal game, has been with Udogie providing the balance on the left, Odegaard outside him so Udogie can under or overlap, then Simon's in the 10, and then Kolo Muani up front. But he hasn't played that for a few games now, Thomas Frank, and I don't really understand why. Lewis on TikTok asked, do you think Xavi Simons was a bad buy? No, I don't. I think he will prove to be a good buy, Xavi Simons. He's just going to have to bide his time, unfortunately. H Ray says, I really want to back Frank, but he's making it difficult for himself every game. Fezzer 2000 says, we weren't dreadful. Give it a rest. I'm sorry, mate. I just disagree. The first 35 minutes of the game, I thought we were absolutely appalling and we didn't have a shot on target. And then as far as I might be wrong, but as far as I'm concerned, as far as I remember, we didn't have a shot on target until they scored their goal. We had a couple of shots that were blocked. We had the Lucas Bergvall chance, which was, is a very low XG chance where it's a Cruyff turn from behind it, a Cruyff flick from behind him, and it just goes over the bar. But you've got to say it as it is. We got a good result, but I thought Tottenham were still dreadful. I'm sorry. I'm saying it as it is. We called Newcastle on. We basically said to Newcastle, come at us. We'll sit very deep as we like to do. And in the end, it's another goal from a fair distance that they score with the first one. Voltemada holds it up well, lays it back, and they score. And Tottenham, that comes from Tottenham always defending too deep. So that's how I feel about it. Sorry, that's how I feel about it. K-Dog says Spence should have come on as soon as Gordon did. Muani and Bergvall, best players until they came off. Romero saved Frank's arse tonight. Matty Smith says Johnson is dreadful. Canned Ham says, let's be positive. I agree. It has been dross. We showed spirit to get a draw after the poor penalty decision against us. Maybe let's have a little patience. Yeah, we're having to be patient. But whilst being patient, I am going to tell it as it is. And, I think man for man, apart from, look, their central midfield options, Newcastle's, the three centre midfielders, Tonali, Guimarães, and Joe Linton, are stronger, more physical beasts than anyone we have in midfield. And that is where Tottenham need to look about buying midfielders who not only are physically able, but also can pass the ball a little bit. Because we don't have enough players able at the moment to pop it about a bit and pass it around. But other than that, I don't look at Newcastle's team and being a lot stronger than Spurs' I just don't. Good point from Dye here. Says, who would have thought that crossing the ball at a 7-foot-tall Dan Burn wouldn't work? Well, not to mention Voltemada as a defender as well. Although, ironically, both goals did come from crosses in a way, didn't they? The second one a corner, the first one Pap. The first one from Kudus, on the right-hand side. Tob Game Music says Pap lacking confidence at the moment. He's no better than Biss. Yeah, I mean, what's happened to Bissouma? He's injured. We don't even hear about him, do we? And Sean says, should have lost the penalty decision aside, but Frank's ass was saved tonight. I don't think they would have sacked him tonight, to be honest. I think he's got a problem if he loses at home to Brentford at the weekend. I think he's got a big problem if that happens. Systemic Frog says, Johnson answered the question of whether he can play on the left tonight. The answer is no. Yeah, but, I did think he was pretty average tonight. But what I would also say is Tottenham couldn't keep the ball at all, apart from for these little 5-minute spells, 10-minute spells, which happened twice maybe. Couldn't keep the ball in central midfield. Just couldn't. And why couldn't they? They should be good enough to, as far as I'm concerned. The Dutch guy asked, do you think the part of the problem is the changes in manager every 18 to 24 months? Give Frank time, he's 4 months in. Maresca and Arteta took a while to get going. Maybe. But the problem is no green shoots, no ability to keep the football. You've got to keep the football. You've got to protect the football. They're just showing the holding graphic here. Threshold for an offence, sustained and or impactful holding, clear impact on the opponent's opportunity to play or challenge with the ball. This is regarding the penalty. Clear non-footballing action with impact on the opponent's movement, not looking at the ball, only focusing on opponent and not challenging for the ball. That happens all the time, though. Holding an opponent with both arms. For me, Dan Burn had Bentancur in a headlock. It's bollocks, but whatever. Kaizen Kazi says, we couldn't string 5 passes together. It's embarrassing. That's my biggest issue with it. Pasquale says, Fabregas would be a good choice. He's not coming to Spurs, mate. Fabregas is not ever coming to Spurs. The other one is Dan Burn didn't even really think that was a penalty. You could tell. Let's hear what they're saying about it. Micah Richards says there's not enough holding. Dan Burn's too strong for him, he's saying. And Dan Burn, look, he puts his arm over him. Burn's got him in a headlock. That's what Micah Richards is saying, so we completely agree. Sheath says it's been less than half a season of constant spreading negativity helps no one. It was not good, but it was better. It wasn't better, mate. I'm sorry. It was better in that we didn't lose. So both Jamie Redknapp and Micah Richards don't think that A, that I was a foul, or B, that it was anywhere near enough to be overturned. And Jamie Redknapp saying we see this week in, week out. The referee and the VAR are just absolutely desperate to get involved in this. Completely ridiculous. 2 shots on target. Wow, says Nukin. Anyway, look, guys, it's been a long night. It's been a difficult one. I appreciate all of you sticking with me, especially on TikTok. Do give me a follow there. And you guys joining me live on YouTube when I've been on Big Up all night as well. We got a draw. It's an ugly performance, but let's hope we can do better at the weekend against Brentford, which won't be easy. Most importantly, though, as ever, come on, you Spurs. Get yourself to okjersey.com where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy.